Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Anime Octopus. Today's fanfic discussion revolves around: what if a neglected Naruto leaves Team 7 and joins the ANBU? Part 2. Disclaimer: the content presented on this channel is intended solely for entertainment and discussion. I do not claim ownership of any anime footage featured in this video. All rights and credits are reserved for their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's dive right in. For the past month, Team 7 had been assigned a continuous stream of D-rank missions, a fact that had not gone unnoticed by their ever-observant leader, Kakashi. The monotony was clearly beginning to wear on his students. Naruto, no doubt, has already deduced that these menial tasks are nothing more than exercises in patience. It's only a matter of time before one of them voices their frustration to Hokage-sama. I'm surprised he hasn't spoken up yet. Perhaps he's waiting to see how long Sasuke and Sakura can endure. Crafty as always. Kakashi mused as he awaited their 86th D-rank mission. A Chunin in charge of assigning missions seemed to revel in his role, scanning through the available options with deliberate slowness. Ah, here we are. This one should be particularly challenging, he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm as he handed the mission scroll to Kakashi, sparing Naruto a pointed glance. A smirk played on his lips as he observed Kakashi unseal the scroll. Well, my cute little Jinan, it appears we have another Tora retrieval mission on our hands, Kakashi announced, his visible eye creasing into a familiar, deceptive smile. His team visibly shuddered, their minds collectively recalling the harrowing encounters they'd had with the daimyo's notoriously elusive cat, the bane of every Jinan. You know the routine: capture Tora and return her to the daimyo's wife before 1,500 hours today. Sakura, you're leading the team this time, Kakashi instructed, before disappearing in a blur of motion, leaving his team to groan in exasperation. This would be their 7th time dealing with the wretched feline in just the past month. Each of them shared a knowing glance, frustration silently communicated before they set out to complete the task. Later, as they regrouped after another grueling chase, Sakura finally snapped. Hokage-sama, I've had enough of these D-rank missions. That infernal cat almost tore my ear off this time, she exclaimed, her voice rising in frustration. Despite their successful return of the cat, Sakura had been left bruised and scratched, particularly embarrassed by her near maiming at the paws of the so-called Jinan rite of passage. Her pride kept her from seeking medical treatment. After all, being injured by Tora was a source of endless ridicule. The Hokage gave a small chuckle at her outburst. I'm impressed, Kakashi. I didn't think it would take this long for your team to finally speak up. Very well. I believe this C-rank mission should suit you all quite nicely. An escort mission to the Land of Waves, with some bodyguard duties during the construction of a bridge. Does that sound agreeable? He inquired, already handing the scroll to Kakashi as the team nodded in eager relief. All right, team, Kakashi addressed them, we depart tomorrow morning at 0800. Pack for at least 2 weeks of travel. We can resupply once we arrive, but we may be there for several months depending on the construction schedule and weather conditions. Prepare for the possibility of an extended stay, up to 6 months if necessary. Understood? Got it, Kakashi-sensei. See you at the gates, Naruto responded before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. Sasuke and Sakura offered brief nods of acknowledgement before departing to prepare for the mission. Naruto reappeared at Training Ground 8, casually leaning against a tree stump before drifting into a light nap while waiting for Team 8 to finish their training. Kurenai noticed him and smiled slightly. Is he here to tell me something, or is it Hinata again? She wondered, casting a glance in his direction. Hinata has been working hard lately. Perhaps I'll call training early, she mused, bringing the session to a close with a sharp whistle. What's up, sensei? Do we have more to work on? Kiba asked, wiping sweat from his brow after their sparring session. No, I think we'll end here for today. Good work, everyone. I'll see you all tomorrow at 0900 in the Hokage's office for another mission, Kurenai responded, her gaze lingering on Hinata before drifting back to Naruto, who was still dozing nearby. Hinata, blushing at the unspoken implication, nodded shyly, something Kiba didn't miss. I know I don't stand a chance, but... Are you sure about that guy? Kiba muttered, concern evident in his voice. He could hurt you, you know. He's dangerous. Hinata rounded on him with an intensity that surprised both Kiba and Akamaru, the latter whimpering and retreating into Kiba's jacket to avoid her stern gaze. Naruto-kun is nothing but a gentleman with me. I trust him completely, and we've known each other for years. He makes me happy, and I will continue to spend my time with him. Is that a problem? Kiba-kun? Her voice dripped with sweetness, but the underlying threat was unmistakable. Kiba, feeling the weight of her glare, quickly raised his hands in surrender. I apologize, Hinata. I guess I don't know him like you do, he conceded, backing off, though still unnerved by her uncharacteristic assertiveness. When did she become so terrifying? He wondered as he walked away, Akamaru still trembling inside his jacket. Kurenai observed Hinata with an amused smile. It seems you're incorporating a more feminine touch to the intimidation tactics Naruto's been teaching you, she remarked playfully. Rising from her seat, Kurenai approached Naruto, who was sound asleep. She winked at Hinata before leaning down, gently blowing into his ear. Naruto startled awake, kunai in one hand and a sealing jutsu prepared in the other. Well, I wasn't aware you had such interests, Naruto, Kurenai teased, casting a mischievous glance his way. I'm sure if you simply asked Hinata, she'd be more than willing to comply. Hinata, overwhelmed, turned a deep crimson, stammering uncontrollably, while Naruto struggled to form a coherent response, flustered by Kurenai's unexpected antics. Kurenai smirked. Now then, who exactly were you seeking, me or Hinata? She inquired. Noticing his quick glance toward Hinata, she took her cue, smiled, and vanished in a swirl of leaves. Hey, Naruto-kun, is there something why you wanted to talk about? Hinata stammered, still reeling from Kurenai's playful interference. Hinata had come a long way in building her confidence since spending time with Naruto and Kurenai. Naruto's presence, paired with Kurenai's quiet support, had done wonders for her self-assurance. After being practically cast aside by her father, who focused all his attention on her younger sister Hanabi, Hinata had become withdrawn. Kurenai took her under her wing, feeling responsible for her late mother's student. She would frequently bring Hinata along to Naruto's home for training sessions or simply to spend time together. With Naruto, Hinata felt a sense of warmth and security, something foreign to her in the rigid environment of the Hyuga compound. Actually, yeah, Naruto began, nervously scratching the back of his head. My team's been assigned a C-rank mission, and we'll be gone for a couple of months. I was hoping to cook dinner for you tonight before we leave, if that's okay. Why am I so nervous? Naruto thought. It's not like I haven't cooked for her before. Hinata's soft voice interrupted his internal dialogue. Of course, I'd love to join you tonight, Naruto-kun. But since you're leaving, I'll be the one cooking tonight, no arguments. She declared with a playful smile, already heading toward the village. Naruto smiled warmly, stuffing his hands into his pockets as he followed her. As they walked through the streets, he listened to Hinata talk about her recent missions, her cheerful voice bringing a sense of peace to him. She stopped at various stalls, picking up fresh ingredients and spices, all the while handing him items to carry. Villagers shot them confused, sometimes disapproving, looks, many still bore animosity toward Naruto. Yet they couldn't deny service when dealing with the Hyuga heir, especially when she seemed happier and more animated than they had ever seen her. Eventually, they made their way to Naruto's secluded home. Hinata led the way through the illusionary boulder concealing the entrance to the cave. While she began preparing dinner, Naruto started the fire and fetched water, quietly whistling to himself. When he returned and attempted to help, she quickly swatted his hand away. Nope. You sit down and rest. I said I'm cooking, and I meant it. You have a mission tomorrow, so you need your rest. She scolded him lightly, hands on her hips, waving a finger in his face. Naruto sighed. But it's not fair to let you cook in my own home, he protested. Hinata's expression softened. Please, Naruto-kun. Let me do this for you. I don't get many chances to do something for you, and I want to help you relax before your mission. Naruto looked at her, emotions swirling in his eyes. Hinata, you know that's not true. I still haven't repaid you for everything you've done for me. You shouldn't have to do anything more. A hint of sadness crossed her face, but she quickly stepped forward, wrapping her arms around him. As Naruto sank to his knees, she gently cradled his head against her stomach, soothing him. I'd do it all again without hesitation, Naruto-kun. I'll always bring you back, no matter what. She whispered, running her fingers through his hair as they both reflected on a particularly painful memory. Flashback. Hinata had just finished a day at the academy and decided to surprise Naruto and Kurenai. She had honed her stealth skills over her 3 years of training and managed to evade the clan's watchers, sneaking off to her favorite secluded clearing. Upon her arrival, Hinata found Kurenai sparring with Naruto in the clearing, while a dog-masked ANBU observed from a distance. Recently, they had been assessing Naruto's control over the Kyuubi's chakra under the Hokage's orders. While Naruto had managed to access a portion of it, he had yet to manifest a full chakra cloak. As Hinata watched, Naruto was crouched on all fours, his once blue eyes now crimson with slit pupils, and his hair wilder, resembling a mane. His nails had elongated into sharp claws, adding to his increasingly feral appearance. The ANBU remained alert as Kurenai encouraged Naruto to draw out more of the chakra, hoping to trigger the chakra cloak. At first, nothing seemed to change. Suddenly, the ANBU stood in a defensive stance, and Hinata felt it too, an oppressive and malevolent presence settling over the clearing. A dark red aura began to envelop Naruto, and his eyes gleamed with an intense glow. His control was slipping as he growled menacingly at Kurenai. The ANBU exchanged a glance with her, but she gestured that she still had the situation in hand. No one anticipated what came next. Naruto's eyes shifted from the feral red of the Kyuubi to the pattern of his dojutsu, the tomoe spinning as a powerful genjutsu erupted. Instantly, Kurenai and the ANBU were caught in its grip. Kurenai's scream of shock echoed through the clearing as the illusion manifested. An overwhelming swarm of crows began attacking, tearing at their forms. Hinata stood frozen in fear as the cries of Kurenai and the ANBU filled the air. Summoning her courage, she formed a hand sign, releasing her chakra with a sharp cry of release. The crows vanished, but the tension lingered. Naruto's genjutsu was notoriously difficult to dispel. The illusions required the victim to first recognize they were trapped in one, then expend chakra to break free. The Hokage and Kurenai had acknowledged that Naruto's mysterious dojutsu made his genjutsu uniquely potent. Hinata silently gave thanks that Naruto was not fully focused on the illusion, which made it easier for her to break. However, her relief was fleeting. A second layer of the illusion began to take hold, blinding all three of them to stakes. Kurenai and the ANBU, still disoriented by the earlier attack, remained unresponsive. Hinata flared her chakra again and shouted, "Release!" The stakes disappeared, but as she prepared for a third illusion, she noticed that Kurenai and the ANBU were still trapped. It was then that Hinata realized how much Naruto had changed. A tail of pure chakra flickered behind him, and the cloak had darkened to a deep, almost blood-red hue. He snarled as he pulled out a kunai, crouching low. With a sudden, swift movement, he leapt forward, aiming directly for Kurenai's chest. The sharp sound of metal-piercing flesh echoed in the clearing, followed by a series of shocked gasps, Kurenai's cry of alarm, the ANBU's stunned reaction, and Hinata's sharp exhale of pain. As Naruto looked down, his chakra cloak began to dissipate, and his feral appearance receded. He stood frozen, horrified by the sight before him. His kunai was buried deep in Hinata's shoulder. His eyes widened in disbelief as he stepped back, the genjutsu dissolving and releasing Kurenai and the ANBU from its hold. "No! No! No! No!" Naruto cried, dropping to his knees in front of Hinata. "Why did you do that?" "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I couldn't control it." His words trailed into quiet sobs, his mind racing. "I hurt her. I promised I wouldn't, but I did." Just as Naruto was overwhelmed with guilt, he felt the soft touch of a hand on the back of his neck, drawing him into a comforting embrace. This warmth. It feels like Hinata. But why? She should be angry with me. He cautiously glanced upward, feeling a hand gently stroke his hair. As his eyes met Hinata's, he braced himself for the anger he expected. But to his surprise, her gaze was filled with compassion and understanding. Why? He managed through his tears. Shh, it's okay, Naruto-kun, she whispered soothingly, holding him close. You're back now. Everything is going to be all right. No. I hurt you. Why don't you hate me? I'm a. Naruto pulled away from her embrace, dropping his head in despair. Tears streamed down his face as he clenched his fists, gripping the grass beneath him. Despite the pain in her shoulder, Hinata reached for the kunai, pulling it out with a quiet grunt. She discarded the weapon and knelt before Naruto, gently cupping his face and urging him to meet her eyes. I'm fine, Naruto-kun. You didn't hurt me. That wasn't you. You're back now, and it's okay. I forgive you. It wasn't your fault, but I forgive you anyway, she spoke softly, her tone full of reassurance. Slowly, she wrapped her arms around him again, and this time, he didn't resist. He clung to her, burying his face in her shoulder, his tears quietly falling. Meanwhile, Kurenai, regaining her strength, stood and approached the ANBU. They exchanged a silent glance before he disappeared to retrieve medical assistance. When he returned, Naruto was still embracing Hinata, lost in her comforting presence. The medic gasped upon seeing her patient's condition, but a glance from Kurenai quickly silenced her. Understanding the silent command from the red-eyed Kunoichi, the medic approached Hinata carefully and quietly. She placed a comforting hand on Hinata's back and focused her chakra to heal the wound. After doing everything she could from her position, Hinata waved her away, no longer in danger as the bleeding had ceased. The medic nodded and returned to Kurenai and the ANBU. If I can't get a better angle, the wound will scar. But she's no longer bleeding, she reported. Kurenai acknowledged the report with a nod and dismissed the medic, who vanished in a swirl of leaves. After a brief exchange of looks, the ANBU also disappeared, heading to the Hokage's office. Kurenai sighed, leaning against a tree before sliding down to rest. It would be a long night. An hour passed before Naruto, exhausted from crying, finally fell asleep in Hinata's arms. The stress of the situation had also taken its toll on Hinata, and she too succumbed to sleep. Kurenai smiled at the pair before gently lifting them and placing them in Naruto's cave, ensuring they rested comfortably on the bed. I should inform Hyuga-sama that I'll be training his daughter tonight for nighttime reconnaissance to ease his concerns, she reasoned to herself as she set out for the Hyuga compound, nodding in acknowledgement to the Hokage and the ANBU in the dog mask, who had arrived to relieve her of her watch. Flashback end. As Hinata ran her fingers through Naruto's hair, he gazed up at her, confusion clouding his expression. How can you forgive me so easily? I hurt you so deeply, and it left a scar. It's unforgivable, whether I was in control or not. Hinata pulled back slightly, then did something unexpected, she slapped him, hard. Naruto, shocked, raised his hand to his reddened cheek, bewildered. Hinata knelt in front of him, pulling her shirt to the side to reveal a scar just below her right collarbone. I will decide what is forgivable or not. You can't get rid of me that easily, Naruto-kun. I carried this scar with pride. I was able to help you, and this is a small price to pay for your peace of mind. I've told you before, and I'll say it again, I would do it all over in a heartbeat. I'll bring you back every time I need to. I won't lose you to the burden you carry for this village, she declared with fierce determination. The intensity of her gaze held Naruto in place, his eyes fixed on her lavender orbs. Emboldened by her own conviction, Hinata cupped his cheek opposite the red mark and leaned in, placing a soft kiss on it. Now sit by the fire and let me cook for you. Understood? She instructed, standing up and placing her hands on her hips. Still captivated by her fiery demeanor, Naruto nodded and moved to sit by the fire. As she resumed preparing their meal, Hinata threw a final remark over her shoulder, hoping to lighten his mood. You know, you might just be the most stubborn person I've ever met, she teased with a smirk. Naruto glanced up, and slowly, she saw the familiar grin she loved return to his face. That's what I like to see, my little nightmare, she said, using Kurenai's nickname for him. Satisfied with the playful pout she received, Hinata returned to cooking, a blissful smile on her face. The evening passed peacefully. Hinata and Naruto exchanged light conversation about their missions, shared the dread of past experiences like dealing with Tora, and simply enjoyed one another's company. The small cave had never felt more like home. As Hinata prepared to leave for the night, she paused at the entrance and gently tugged on Naruto's wrist, pulling him closer. Her eyes met his once again, and in a soft yet firm tone, she spoke, "You'd better come back from this mission, you hear? You owe me a cinnamon bun when you return." Naruto's face filled with mild confusion. When did this happen? I don't recall losing a bet. I decided that you're going to take me out for a cinnamon bun when you get back. It's the least you can do after being away for so long, she replied with a playful smile. Before he could respond, she leaned up on her toes and placed a gentle kiss on his cheek, then turned on her heel and walked away. Just before disappearing into the forest, she paused and looked back at him one last time, locking eyes with the redhead leaning against the cave wall. She smiled softly and mouthed, "Sweet dreams," before continuing her journey back to the village. As Tazuna approached the gate with the leader of his protective detail, an unsettling wave of nervousness washed over him. His concerns seemed validated as he saw 3 young genin waiting for him, all appearing quite inexperienced. The first was a pink-haired girl dressed in a short red kimono, who appeared more preoccupied with one of her teammates than the mission at hand. This doesn't look promising, Tazuna mused privately. A distracted girl more interested in her teammate than her duties, just my luck. Taking a swig from his sake bottle, he turned his attention to the second member of the group. This one had spiky black hair and wore a perpetual scowl. Dressed in a blue shirt and white shorts, he didn't stand out much to Tazuna's discerning eye. Brooding type, perhaps. Let's hope he can focus when it really matters. Despite his gruff exterior and habitual drinking, the old bridge builder prided himself on his ability to read people, even when slightly inebriated. His attention then shifted to the third team member, who caught his interest. This boy, with wild dark red hair held back by a headband, exuded a sense of confidence. Dressed in a black sleeveless shirt beneath a gray combat vest, black pants, and matching sandals, he wore the ANBU tattoo on his left shoulder. Leaning nonchalantly against the gate, his eyes were closed, and a smirk played on his lips. This one at least seems to have some experience. Judging by his attire and that ANBU mark, it appears I'm not entirely out of luck, Tazuna thought. Well then, shall we make haste? That bridge won't build itself, he said, turning to leave the village. Hey. What do you mean by that? Sakura began to retort, her voice rising, but was silenced by a hand on her shoulder. She looked up to see Naruto gently holding her back from continuing her outburst. Let the client think what he wants, Naruto said calmly. The best way to prove him wrong is by successfully completing the mission. With that, he shoved his hands into his pockets, closing his eyes as he trailed behind Tazuna. Sparing a glance at his teammates, he called out, "Are you two coming or not?" Both Sasuke and Sakura snapped to attention and hurried to catch up with Kakashi, Tazuna, and Naruto. It was clear to everyone that this mission, with the company of Naruto and Kakashi, was going to be a long one. For 2 days, Team 7 traveled in relative silence. Whenever Sakura tried to break the quiet by inching closer to Sasuke, he would grunt and move away, seemingly content with the wordless journey. Why did I get stuck with 3 people who hardly talk? I haven't had a decent conversation in days, Sakura thought to herself, feeling frustrated. Suddenly, she sensed a subtle shift in the atmosphere. Naruto, who had been relaxed up until that point, now seemed more alert. Curious, Sakura glanced at Kakashi and Sasuke. Sasuke remained indifferent, and Kakashi, predictably, had his nose buried in his orange book. What's got Naruto so on edge? She wondered. Just as the thought crossed her mind, two figures leapt from a nearby puddle, ensnaring Kakashi in a bladed chain that appeared to shred him apart. Sakura screamed in terror as Sasuke swiftly moved in front of Tazuna, preparing to defend him. Glancing at Naruto, she noticed his eyes had opened, revealing an active dojutsu. Time seemed to slow as she shifted her gaze back to their attackers. What she witnessed next left her stunned. One of the demon brothers stood immobilized while the other raised his chain arm, preparing to strike. However, with a quick flick of his wrist, the chain wrapped around his own brother. "Ha! Gotcha now, you foolish Shinon!" he shouted, yanking the chain with brutal force, unintentionally shredding his own brother. What happened? The remaining brother muttered in confusion, only for Naruto to dash forward, a seal matrix swirling around his fingers. In an instant, Naruto was in front of the missing nin, locking eyes with him. As the Tomoe in Naruto's dojutsu spun, he applied the sealing matrix to the enemy's torso with precision. Sakura, still speechless, watched as the sealing formula spread across the man's body, rendering him completely immobile before knocking him unconscious. Naruto deactivated his dojutsu and turned to the group. "Is everyone all right?" he asked, snapping Sakura out of her daze. Well, good job my cute little Shinon. Excellent reaction time Naruto. Now Tazuna, I think we need to have a little chat. Those are two A-rank missing nin from Kiri. Why would they be targeting you?" Kakashi asked as he turned to a profusely sweating Tazuna. "I'll be taking my team back to Konoha. You may accompany us if you wish and have the mission parameters changed appropriately." "Tazuna, you must clarify the situation. We need the full truth," Kakashi demanded, his expression unreadable as he gave Tazuna permission to continue. "I understand now. Your predicament is indeed severe. However, let us not forget that we were hired for a C-rank escort mission, and this has escalated into an A-rank mission, given the political ramifications of failure. I will defer to my team to decide whether we return to Konoha or proceed with the mission," Kakashi stated, his gaze sweeping over his team. "We should help. We can't just abandon people suffering under Gato's tyranny," Sakura said, though her voice wavered slightly. "I'm indifferent, but I recognize the strategic value in completing the mission. It could benefit the village," Sasuke remarked, his tone measured. "I agree. Seeing this mission through aligns with Konoha's best interests," Naruto added, making the decision unanimous. Kakashi nodded. "Very well, Tazuna, you can thank my team for their compassion, which I lack. But understand this, from now on, we follow my rules." His voice held a note of warning, and Tazuna nodded nervously, taking a swig from his sake bottle. "Naruto, take the lead and stay alert. Sakura, guard the right flank, Sasuke the left. I'll cover the rear. We move swiftly and silently until we reach our destination. Secure the demon brothers and let's move," Kakashi ordered sharply. "Shadow Clone Jutsu," Naruto declared, summoning 4 clones. "Spread out in a fan formation and scout ahead. If anything is amiss, dispel and report back." With that, Team 7 moved into a diamond formation, advancing with precision. The journey to Nami no Kuni proceeded without incident, their movements coordinated and efficient. As they neared Tazuna's home, a thick mist began to roll in, raising everyone's guard. Kakashi immediately sensed the danger. "Form up around Tazuna. Zabuza is likely to strike soon," he instructed. A sinister voice echoed through the fog, surrounding them. "So perceptive, Kakashi of the Sharingan. But do you truly believe you can protect your team and my target? Leave the bridge builder and turn back if you wish to live," the voice taunted, flooding the area with a suffocating killing intent. Sakura fell to her knees, trembling, while Sasuke gritted his teeth and readied a kunai. Naruto crouched, focusing his senses, and activated his chakra, preparing 2 incapacitation seals on his fingertips. "In this mist, my eyes are useless until he gets closer. I'll have to act quickly," Naruto thought, bracing himself. Kakashi revealed his Sharingan, lifting his headband, and assumed a defensive stance, kunai in hand. Where to strike? So many tempting choices, the voice mused mockingly. How about now? Zabuza's massive sword materialized above Naruto, descending with lethal speed. Naruto leapt back, switching to his explosion seal just as the sword grazed his face and chest. With a grunt of pain, he slammed his hands onto the blade, activating the seal. The number 3 appeared within the circle of seals as Zabuza's weapon sliced into his flesh. Naruto dropped to one knee, covering his injured eye. I can't afford to let my guard down again. This opponent is far too dangerous. Sakura gasped at the sight of Naruto's blood. Is this where we die? She thought, fear creeping in, but she steeled herself as Kakashi whispered, Thank you, Naruto. That was all I needed. A sudden explosion erupted to their left, scattering the mist. Seizing the moment, Kakashi charged forward, hands flying through a series of seals. He launched himself into the air as Sasuke unleashed a massive fire-style, great fireball jutsu, the blazing orb hurtling toward Zabuza. Kakashi finished his jutsu as the fireball connected with Zabuza's water clone. Lightning style, lightning fang. Kakashi's attack struck true, piercing the air alongside Sasuke's fireball. Zabuza grunted in pain as the lightning coursed through his body. Before Zabuza could recover, Naruto dashed forward. We're not done yet, Zabuza. He shouted, slamming both hands onto Zabuza's chest. The sealing matrix appeared, incapacitating the rogue ninja. Suddenly, 2 senbone needles struck Zabuza's neck, and he collapsed, motionless. Thank you for subduing my target. I've been tracking him for weeks, a voice called from the trees. Team 7 turned to see Akiri Hunter Nin approaching. The masked ninja examined Zabuza's body briefly. Again, I appreciate your help, the hunter said before vanishing with Zabuza's body in a swirl of water. Kakashi frowned, his eyes narrowing. That wasn't standard protocol. We'll likely encounter them again, Naruto observed darkly, before collapsing from his injuries. Sakura, tend to Naruto. Tazuna, is your home nearby? Kakashi asked, his voice strained with exhaustion. Yes, it's not far. Follow me. Tazuna replied, leading them toward his home as the mist cleared. It took them another 45 minutes to reach their destination. Tsunami, we have guests. Could you please bring me the medical kit and some spare bedding? Tazuna asked as he entered the house. What do yo, oh my, I'll be right back. Please lay him down upstairs, Tsunami instructed, hurrying to fetch the medical supplies. Sakura gave a nod and proceeded upstairs, her clothes soaked in her teammate's blood. After laying him on the bed, she stepped back as Tsunami entered the room. Go clean yourself up. I'll take care of him, the older woman said, kneeling by her patient. When Sakura hesitated, Tsunami turned and fixed her with a firm look. I said, go clean up. He's not in danger, his pulse is strong, which is unusual considering his condition. Now go, you look like you've just stepped out of a morgue. Sakura glanced down at herself, nodded, and quietly left the room. A few hours later, Tsunami returned downstairs, greeted by the somber expressions of her visitors. He'll be all right, he just needs rest. It's remarkable how strong his pulse remained despite the amount of blood Sakura had on her. You ninja are certainly extraordinary, she commented, addressing their anxious faces as she moved to pour herself a cup of coffee. Now, care to introduce me to our guests? Ah, yes. This is Team 7 from Konoha, the ninja who have saved my life twice already. Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke. The boy upstairs is Naruto. They'll be staying here until the bridge is completed, Tazuna explained, gesturing toward each individual as he introduced them. I see. You have my deepest gratitude for saving my grandfather's life on 2 occasions. If there's anything you need, don't hesitate to ask. I've had to learn some first aid myself since Gato's thugs drove away the town doctors, Tsunami said with a warm smile. After bowing, she turned to the kitchen. Let me prepare dinner for all of you. I'm sure you're hungry after such a long journey. The next morning, Kakashi set a routine in motion. Each day, Sakura and Sasuke alternated between guarding the bridge in Tazuna, or training with Kakashi. This pattern continued over the following week while Naruto remained unconscious. "Kakashi-sensei, why hasn't Naruto woken up yet?" Tsunami said it would only take a day or two. Was this normal during his time in ANBU? Sakura inquired during their lunch break. No, this is unlike him. In ANBU, his recovery was exceptional. "I'm not sure what's happening. All we can do is wait. He's stable, but there might be some underlying issues," Kakashi responded cryptically, thinking to himself, "He's probably dealing with the Kyuubi, but I can't share that with Sakura." Naruto's mindscape. Naruto awoke, reclining against a tree at the edge of a vast field. Groggily rubbing the remnants of sleep from his eyes, he stood up and took in his surroundings. The normally blue sky was now a swirling mass of gray clouds, and the air was thick with a palpable energy. A storm was on the horizon. With a resigned sigh, Naruto stretched lazily before making his way to the large pit in the center of the field. "I thought you didn't like the rain, Kyuubi. Why are you keeping me here long enough to cause a storm?" Naruto questioned as he stared down into the pit. The massive fox glared back with one glowing red eye but remained silent. Naruto sighed again and climbed onto the cage, sitting down with his legs dangling over the edge, the seal tag hovering in front of him. "You know, you still haven't told me your name." "Why not?" "It must be lonely in here." The fox closed its eye and let out a puff of air, continuing to ignore the boy. "Well, since I'm stuck here and it doesn't seem like you're letting me leave anytime soon, I'll tell you a story. When I was younger," Naruto began, waving his arms animatedly to add flair to his tale. He smirked as the fox stood up, pausing his story to look down and see his feet inches from the Kyuubi's nose. "Why do you keep telling me that same tedious story every time you're here? All you ever talk about is going to Ichiraku and spilling ramen on Ayame. It's dull beyond belief." "Just stop," the fox growled, baring its teeth to emphasize its frustration. To its surprise, Naruto smiled, this time a genuine smile, not his usual smirk. "I didn't realize you were listening to my stories. I'm glad you care so much. Now it's your turn. Tell me a story." "I'm no storyteller. I will do no such thing. Leave me in peace. At least tell me your name. If you won't share a story, then that much will do." "What purpose would my name serve you? What use does a jailer have for the name of his prisoner?" "I like to know the names of my friends. I don't have many, and you've been with me the longest. Why wouldn't I want to know your name?" My dear YouTube family, that concludes today's content. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing to my channel, Anime Octopus, for more engaging discussions and updates. Thank you for your continued support. Sincerely, Anime Octopus.